As life goes on, I'm starting to learn more and more about responsibility. And I realize that everything I do is affecting the people around me. So I want to take this time out to apologize for things that I've done and things that haven't occurred yet, and things that they don't want to take responsibility for.
Hello everybody, and welcome to The Dying Breed, where I go over pretty much anything I want to go over. And today I want to talk about 3 topics instead of my normal 2. And before we get started, if you do not want to watch my podcast or listen, go outside and have a wonderful day. I will see or talk to you guys later. That's fine. You don't have to watch. But my purpose here is mainly for my own, but if you get something out of it, that is fantastic. I do hope you learned something. If not, that's okay too. I love you all. Now, that being said, let's get started. My first topic of the day is I hate the USA. Now, that's probably stirring up a bunch of emotions from each and every one of you. Some of you may be angry, some of you may be afraid, some of you may be rebellious, some of you may be in agreement, some of you may just be outright protestant. There's a lot of feelings that may be going through you right now. How could you serve as a U.S. soldier and not like America? I mean, what happened to your patriotic sense of self that belongs to your country? Your country's number one. Well, it's not. It's not number one. And what bothers me is I see t-shirts that Americans wear that says, America, number one, we're number one, we're number one, America's the best at this, we're number one, we're the best because we're free. And there's a clip I'd like to play for you, and I hope you take a lot out of it, and I hope it means something to you.
One's a set of laws and the other's a declaration of war. I want a human moment from you. What about the people? Why is
It's not the greatest country in the world, Professor. That's my answer.
You're saying
Yes. Let's talk about fine. Sharon, the NEA is a loser. Yeah, it accounts for a penny out of her paycheck, but he gets to hit you with it anytime he wants. It doesn't cost money. It costs votes. It costs airtime and column inches. You know why people don't like liberals? Because they lose. If liberals are so fucking smart, how come they lose so goddamn always? Hey, and with a straight face, you're going to tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom? Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom.
All right.
And yeah, you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. And one of them is there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Now, none of this is the fault of a 20-year-old college student, but you nonetheless are, without a doubt, a member of the worst generation ever. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yosemite? Sure used to be. We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men, We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed by great men who were revered. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one.
So I hope that sat with you guys as well as it did with me. That video actually reminded me of a time when many years ago I used to believe that this country was the best. I used to believe that America still held some form of just, and it doesn't anymore. So moving on to my next topic, and actually let me back up a bit. I hate America because it is not who it used to be, and it is not what they want you to believe. America is many things, but the problem with most Americans is they're illiterate. They do not read foreign newspapers. They do not read foreign opinion. They couldn't even tell you who the vice president of Germany or Canada is. They couldn't tell you what celebrations are done during this time. Most say America's number one, yet have never even been out of the state. Most Americans have only been to one or two countries in their entire life, and yet they're willing to stake their life that America's number one when they're so ill-informed. So my next topic of discussion is debates. And the reason I don't like being drawn into vegan and non-vegan debates is simple. I spend a vast majority of my time studying nutrition, medical studies, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and I also study Canada's nutritional standards and dietary regulations. I go through and read medical publications worldwide, not just America. So my problem is during most debates, people tend to deflect. I don't like deflections. And I was recently accused of doing something on Facebook saying that street harassment wasn't an issue. And a lot of people left my Facebook over that. And I wanted to say that I didn't have a problem with the attack, to be honest. It was more the fact that if you're going to accuse me of something, I am going to fact check you. I will fact check you. That's all there is to it. If you make an accusation against me, I will call you on it. I will ask you to prove your accusation or redact it. If you cannot prove your statement true, then you and I will have a problem. And I'm not an aggressive person by nature, but I will say that I am pretty ferocious on the debate team, and when it comes to actually throwing out factual information, I'm pretty dead on, which is why I throw so much of my passion behind what I say, is because I believe that my medically backed opinions are fact. My facts somewhat guide my aggression. So if I'm passionate in my debate, it's because it's backed by facts. And if the information is in my favor, then, well, I'm enjoying my debate. If I'm losing, at least I'm learning something. But in today's society, you cannot have a debate where there's no right or wrong answer. But in a debate where there is a right and wrong answer, people get butthurt. People who don't like the information you're sharing will say, oh, and they'll whine and they'll get you banned. And I've been banned from quite a few places. One place, actually, I only made 1 or 2 posts a month, and I said I don't believe in feminism. I believe that equality knows no gender. I was banned. And what was interesting about that was that discussion had 690 something replies. There were people talking about it. There were people passionate. There was information. There was data. There was statistics. There was studies done by lawyers. There was information just everywhere. But none of the information actually mattered. You see, it wasn't about the information, it was about, did it agree with me? And if it doesn't agree with me, then fuck it. Fuck them, let's ban them. It has nothing to do with accepting any information anymore. Debates with Americans are very difficult because if they don't like what you're saying, they'll shut down, they'll cry, or they'll run away. No one just mans up and says, I disagree with you. You need to toughen up in a debate. You need to realize, well, shoot, the whole point of a debate is neither of you seems to agree on an issue. Therefore, the debate is in place to share information. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to, at the end of the debate, say, well, you know what? You were right. I was wrong. I'm changing my stance. But if that so happens, that's fantastic because you changed your mind. You altered your opinion and you learned something based on new information that you probably didn't have before. That's not possible in these debate forums. It's not possible because nobody's going to do that. It's a closed-minded discussion where here's the facts, and then the opponent, the opposition, goes, well, I don't like them, you're wrong, banned, moving on. So I tend to avoid situations in where I am placed in there. Although if I am invited to share information, I will share information, and sometimes I am a bit aggressive in my debate. But as I said, my aggression is stemmed from the fact that my opinions and my statements are 99% of the time medically backed by reputable doctors, dietitians, world-renowned medical universities. So it's not like I'm just pulling information out of my you-know-what and hoping it sticks. I come up with some statistically accurate information, and it's just something that I don't like to do. I often do not participate. I will usually share my opinions and my information among individuals who, share my point of view. And they can share it with whoever they want that doesn't agree with them, because I do not want that fight. Debating somebody on B12 deficiencies based on stuff that even doctors don't believe. It's like, the doctor says this. The medical universities say this. Every single scientist and doctor and biochemist agrees that this is what happens, and you have this person who has almost no education in nutrition or medicine saying, they're all wrong, my opinion is right. Now, I can't stand it. So moving on to my third topic of today, and I'm sorry that I got on a little rant, but I'm actually I love debate. I do. I love debate. And just not when the opposition is closed-minded and overly sensitive. So moving on to my third topic of tonight, hunting. I've seen a lot of pictures popping up about hunting, and this stance is probably going to piss a lot of you people off, but I typically piss people off in general, so I'm just going to go and say it. But we're at a point in our evolutionary process where we don't require animal substances to remain alive. I am not saying that we didn't at one point believe we needed animals to survive. What I am stating now, in the present, in 2014, we are at a point of mental clarity where we don't need animals to sustain our existence. We could survive off plants and alternatives, and that we couldn't before. Now, if, perchance, say we were stranded, let's do the stranded on a desert island scenario, because I know a lot of meat eaters love that one. Well, if we were stranded on a desert island, then there probably wouldn't be any animals, because animals seem to like vegetation. So the odds of there being an animal on that deserted desert island is pretty slim in its entirety. But I would say that if you were on a deserted island, that there's probably going to be vegetation, and if there's vegetation and there's animals, then, well, let's turn this around. So why not eat the plants that the animal's eating? Because if the animal can eat it, perhaps we can too. After all, we survived many, many years without any animals, especially as foragers. If you know your anthropology, nutritional anthropology, I might want to specify, because in the past I've been corrected and said that, oh, anthropology has nothing to do with nutrition. Well, that's true if you're not studying nutritional anthropology. Getting into that later, that's for the whole payload debunking speech, which I don't even want to get into. So if I'm on a deserted island, I'm probably going to be pretty happy. I've got my sand, maybe. Got some waves. I don't have to worry about my phone bill, that's for sure. I don't have the stress of work. And better yet, I have shade, trees, breeze, plants. I live off plants, fruits and vegetables as it is. Now, I'm not going to say the island's going to have vegetables, but most likely it's a tropical island, right? I mean, the animal's got to eat something. So was the animal eating mangoes? I can live off mangoes, you know? So if I was stranded on a deserted island, I know I keep going into this, but I'd eat the plants, because plants are awesome, and I'd increase my chance of surviving, staying fit and healthy, no matter what. So me and the animals can chill out and have fun. Hunting. What to say about hunting? Well, I wouldn't need to hunt, and I don't believe hunting is even a viable option anymore. I mean, some people think they need meat, but you don't. So what purpose does hunting serve? Well, decrease the population, one would argue. But is that really how it works? I mean, really? What about us? The same could be said for us. The animals kill people to decrease the population, but you'd be like, oh, well, that's ridiculous. Well, maybe your argument is just as ridiculous. Maybe killing off the animals to reduce the population is just as idiotic as saying that the animals are killing the people just to reduce the population, and therefore it's justified. Can you honestly say that? Because I don't think so. I would say that hunting isn't manly at all. There is nothing manly about taking an M4. I had an M4 in the military, so I'm going to use an M4, handgun, anything like that, any automated weapon, and shooting an animal from a distance. I mean, you talk about sportsmanship as well. How sporting is that? I mean, where's the challenge? A sport involves challenge. What's the challenge? The animal might hear you and run while you're what? How many feet away? How many yards are you now? So it's not very sportsmanship, because you have the advantage, and sports usually are fair. Usually one opponent has the same advantages as the other opponent, therefore making it an equal challenge. Therefore, that's why it's a sport, because there's a chance you may win, there's a chance you may lose. I mean, with hunting, it's basically just overpowering nature and taking charge. And I mean, if you want a sport, here's what you do. You take your knife out, your hand knife, you go down there and you attack a bear. Go for it. By all means. You want to test your grit? Take on a bear. You want to test your grit? Take on a wolf with a knife. Or, to better even the odds, well, you know what? I'll give you the knife if you're versing a bear, because bears have claws and wolves do too. But you know what? Use your bare hands. You want to prove you're manly? Bare hand punch a bear in the face. That nothing manlier than that. And if you can come away, you'll have one hell of a story. So do I think hunting is manly? No, I think it's a pretty cowardly thing to do, to kill an animal who doesn't have the same advantages you do. So I'm going to end the podcast with that, and I hope you all had a fantastic night. And with Saturday and Sunday coming up, I hope you guys don't get too crazy over the weekend, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful day, and keep being awesome.